I think the combat art kit was a very good tool for the lads to express their emotions through drawing. It was a great opportunity for them to actually get down on paper what their thoughts and feelings were at a time throughout, you know, the 7 months while we were away.
It's small and compact, so it was easy to put in your kit and sort of whip it out. The watercolours as well were really good, lasted quite a while.
I used a lot of the stuff that was in there. I wasn't as much a painter, but I used the pencils, the technical pencils and the pure graphite ones a lot myself, and was getting other ones when I ran out of the lads that weren't so much into art themselves.
I thought it was excellent, actually. Yeah, I think everybody got one who needed one, and you know, I thought the contents of it were pretty good, actually, higher quality than I was expecting. And the little wallet, I think the lads found particularly useful.
I think the combat art kit is excellent, and I think it's excellent for a whole host of reasons. Partly because it was so portable, it meant the guys could take it everywhere they wanted to go, which is one of the things that the combat art project wanted to enable the guys to do, so they could do art anywhere. But also the artists behind combat art put such a good set of resources together. It meant the guys had some really good kit, and they were even more inspired to use it because it was so well put together.
I'm really impressed with it. What I'm really impressed with is how, first of all, how small you made it to fit into the pooch, and secondly, the quality of the equipment. So, for instance, the paper is absolutely top quality, and having talked to other people who've got far more experience than I have, they've been really impressed with the quality of it. Surprisingly, yes. I think because it's in the camouflage pooch, when you look at it, it looks like a piece of military kit. When I took the one that was given to me to show to other people, that was the thing that they were really struck by. So when they opened it, they weren't quite sure what to expect. What they didn't expect was an art kit. So yes, it does.
It operates very well within the whole spectrum of military kit that we have, in the fact that it's compact, it's camouflage, which is obviously a good thing. So yeah, from that aspect, it is, but focusing more on the therapy side of life, it can be utilised in that manner. But as a generic piece of military equipment, I know lads did utilise it while sitting on sentry, using it as opportunity to draw landscapes and range cards, as well as in their own downtime, getting, as I said, their thoughts and emotions down. Personally, I used it in photographic terms, in the fact that I sketched out ideas and you know, shot list and stuff like that. The only way that I would improve it for that aspect is potentially something a little bit larger than the notebook that's in there. From a drawing perspective, a few more of the postcard style. The postcard style drawing pads would be good.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it looks military. The case looks military, but I like it because it's not. It's not the inside, and the kit isn't military issue. So it sort of lends a bit more imagination into things.
Because there's quite a lot of high quality stuff in it, and usually the stuff I get isn't as up to scratch, I'd say. As Tom said, yeah, I'd say it looks military from the outside, but when you open up inside, there's nothing military about it at all. Civilian art stuff. It's exactly what you need, because it does like fit into one of these map-sized pockets.
Well, I had one, but I had to give it away because the guys liked it so much. But it does feel like a military bit of kit, and again, the guys that put the kit together put a lot of time and effort into it to make it a bit of Gucci military kit. So as you can see from it, they've used the same materials that we've got on our kit, and they've also tailored it to make it a real gizzit, to make it something specific to our units.
I think because of the packaging, yes, it did. And you know, I personally didn't get one. They'd run out, unfortunately. But so I couldn't really comment on whether it could be improved upon. But I had obviously a quick look through it, and it looked fairly comprehensive. I don't think it needs to be any bigger, because obviously when space is at a premium, something compact like that is very useful.
I used it a number of times just to really when I couldn't carry anything bigger, like bigger sketch pads and stuff like that, and just to get sort of blocks of colour down, mainly sort of quick colour sketches and stuff like that.
I used it a lot. One of the main things I was doing on the tour was designing various tattoos for people, and I found the kit in there very good for that sort of thing myself. I used the paints a couple of times, but more myself, I went to the illustration side of just using drawing, just graphite and paper. So that's what I used it for most of the time, was designing tattoos, to be honest.
I used it within my role as a unit photographer to get down my shot ideas, and literally it was nothing very artistic about it. It was stick men, depicting what my idea was for that time, what I would like to get out of the future day or the potential shoot that I was going on. So for me, it was there just as a way of sketching out my ideas and utilising it further down the line.
The only time I've ever kept a diary is when I've been in charge of an organisation, and I found it as a release valve. So the way that I would use it was to, at the end of a week, I would just reflect on that week. Non-judgmentally, this is not for publication, but it recorded not only what happened, the key things, but also the way that I felt. So it became a release for my emotions, and I found that really very, very helpful indeed. I haven't kept a diary under other circumstances. So for me, there is something about being heightened responsibility, heightened tension where it releases that. And the second thing is that when I go back into those diaries sometime later, maybe years later, when I read that diary entrance, immediately that particular thing that I described, all the emotions that I felt comes flooding back to me. So it seems to connect you back to what you experienced at the time.
Wow, where'd you start? I think when Anita came and spoke to me, first of all, with regards to the art therapy side of artwork, I think there were so many levels it's useful on. One of the reasons that I saw the passion for this project was in the way that it can make people more well balanced. You only have to look over history and see how art has been used to see how it can be so good in the therapeutic sense. But also, it's good for the guys on so many levels as well. They might be like they were on Herrick 17, maybe in a role that might seem quite boring, and actually to have something beneficial they can go back to their grots or to their bed space and do some art on. It's good for them in that sense. Also, the guys are really creative, and I think it's a great channel. So good on so many levels.
I think it's useful because actually it's a different way of recording events, and I know some people do things in different ways, and a bit lads are they don't necessarily talk about their experiences, but if they've got the opportunity to draw it, people like to express themselves in different ways. So I think it's a useful way of recording an event with a viewpoint from everybody, from the Marines right up to the commanding officer, really.
Well, I'm probably biased because I'd be doing it whatever, but from the lads' perspective, from what they, from seeing that someone that didn't really have any interest in painting or drawing until they got the kits, it just made them more aware of what was going on around them, that anything could be, a subject, and it just just a break from. There's a lot of people were bored a lot. There's a lot of boredom, a lot of waiting around and stuff like that, and it just helped to relieve the boredom.
A lot of the reason they're getting the tattoos is remembrance for, say, one of their friends that might have been killed on the tour, and a lot of them are getting things like poppies for remembrance, and the names or the dog tags, or there'll be something to do with like a lost friend. So when they tell you the story, it's therapeutic for them to describe why they want the tattoo in remembrance, and then you get to draw it as well. So I think it was good, yeah.
For the lads that use them as more of a, to get their ideas, and it's to sort of illustrate their sort of imagination and, you know, and all the rest of it, I'd say definitely.
There's always been a link with art and the military going way back to First World War and before that. I think there are two aspects of it. One is there's a lot of time when you're on operations, when you have plenty of time on your hands, and therefore you're looking at things to do. So that aspect about filling dead time is important. Secondly, I think it allows the mind to move into a different field. So one of the things that art does is to provide the other side of the coin to the horrors of war. And in many ways, I think it has a very therapeutic point of view. And I think from that point of view, particularly on a release of stress, can be really very helpful.
I think it'd be a good idea, yeah. I don't see why not. You know, I think there are lots of lads out there with a bit of creativity in them. So, you know, even if they just use bits of it or even just use the wallet for other things, but I think it was quite useful for a lot of the guys having that little bit of kit on them.
You know, yeah, I think they should be. But I'd say most Marines or soldiers have some sort of drawing capability with them, or they can use just by making do with cardboard and stuff like that. But it's easier in this pack because you can use colour.
I'm not sure about standard issue all the time, possibly for going away on operations or on trips where they'd have more interesting things to document with art, but I'm not sure a lot of lads would get much use out of them just on a day-to-day basis. They might just discard them, but whereas if you gave them it for that reason of going away on a tour and operation, they would use it.
It's a good tool for the lads to actually express their emotions and their feelings, whether it should be standard issue as part of a deployment pack. Honestly, I don't believe that the military would be able to take it on and fund it if it was from, you know, a charitable background and a therapy tool for potential situations. Then yes, definitely, because I can actually see some valuable use in getting your thoughts, emotions at that particular time down on paper, and having an opportunity to reflect upon them further down the line when you actually get to quantify what's just happened.
I think for people deploying, I think it'd be good to be made standard issue, yes, definitely. And I think for the guys about to be deployed or going on big exercises, because it would give them an emphasis, so when they go away to a war zone or to somewhere on a big exercise, I think it'd probably focus them more to use it for the purposes it was intended for. So the art therapy side and going on from there. So yeah, it'd be great to have a load on the shelf, so when guys were about to deploy, and this would be like a short-term thing, so they could just give them as well, as opposed to an exercise that had been planned years in advance.
I would hope so. I think it's interesting that the first unit to use this is a Royal Marine unit. Talking to my other friends in the other services, their response has been, that's typical, the Marines would do this. And when I said why, and said because you're innovators, you're up for a challenge, you're very interested you're curious about doing something different. And if I related to something else, the Marines are acknowledged as the first people who've got into coaching about helping to bring on the best talent within the services. And they've been the benchmark, which is now becoming the norm in the services. So I would hope that the fact that the Marines have done it will encourage the other services not to reject it out of hand, but to have a look at it. I think they will be very interested at how this curious organisation has actually got focused on this.